Welcome gamers back to the channel. Today I'm reviewing the 2024 remake Until Dawn, Supermassive Games' seminal horror experience, one that originally debuted back in 2015. And whether you're a longtime fan of the original, or completely new to the world of Until Dawn, you're probably wondering whether this current gen remake does justice to its predecessor. Well, get comfortable as I'll break it down for you. Before I dive into the nitty gritty, let me set the stage for those of you who are not familiar with Until Dawn. This game was Supermassive's breakout hit, a horror adventure inspired by 90s and 2000s teen slasher films. Its unique blend of non-linear narrative, player-driven choices, and deeply atmospheric storytelling turned it into one of the most memorable horror games of the PS4 era. The Until Dawn remake stays true to the 2015 narrative that captivated so many players. The story still follows a group of 8 friends who return to the remote Blackwood mountains 1 year after the mysterious disappearance of 2 of their friends. And the game perfectly captures the tropes of the classic slasher genre by throwing these characters into a chilling life or death struggle where each choice you make determines who survives and who dies. From the beginning, Until Dawn nails the vibe of an interactive horror movie. Its tense atmosphere is palpable, all thanks to the tight writing, expert pacing, and those oh so iconic jump scares. And the game is dripping with the hallmark of slasher films, complete with the arrogant jock, the insecure best friend, and the classic last girl trope. Supermassive Game plays on these archetypes to perfection, and gives us characters that we might either love or hate, but who always keep us engaged. And this blend of horror cliché and player-driven narrative choices work brilliantly, especially for those who grew up with films like Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer. And moving on to what makes this remake stand out is its graphics. Moving from the PS4's Decima engine to the Unreal Engine 5 has done wonders for the game's visual fidelity. We're talking incredible textures like facial animations and lighting that generally adds to the suspense. And the character models? Well, this remake ups the ante by introducing hyper-realistic facial details like skin pores, subtle muscle movements, beads of sweat, the whole 9 yards. So when a character is horrified by something they see, it's no longer just the voice acting selling the moment, it's also their face telling the whole story. And there's even a new layer of atmospheric immersion through improved shadows and lighting effects that make every corner feel like it's hiding something dreadful. But unfortunately, the gorgeous visuals come at a cost. Unlike some of its contemporaries, this game is locked at 30 frames per second, which will definitely leave some of you yearning for smoother gameplay. And the lack of a 60 FPS option could have been a deal breaker in other games, but here, the cinematic nature and well implemented motion blur make the lower frame rate bearable, though far from the ideal for next generation hardware. And when it comes to its gameplay, well, if you've played the original Until Dawn, you'll feel right at home here, as its core mechanics are largely unchanged, and for good reason. The game's formula, part interactive movie, part third-person exploration, and part quick-time event rollercoaster still holds up in 2024. You'll spend a lot of time exploring the haunted woods, cabins, and the caves of the Blackwood mountain, searching for clues and collectibles to flesh out the story. And the quick-time event segments remain a focal point of the life or death moments, and help to keep you on edge, as missing a button press can easily result in one of your characters meeting a grisly end. However, one of the major gameplay updates is the shift from the fixed camera angles to the fully roaming third-person perspective, and this change is clearly inspired by the Resident Evil 2 and 3 remakes, which embrace a similar over-the-shoulder approach. And while this new camera system gives you more freedom and improves immersion, it also detracts from some of the tension, as some of the fixed angles in the original game often limited your field of view, and amplified the fear of what might be lurking off-screen. But with this free camera, you lose some of the paranoia, which was a hallmark of the original horror design. With that said, the 2024 remake introduces some new accessibility options that deserve high praise. For players who struggle with the quick-time events or the don't move sections, there's an auto pass option, making the game more approachable without losing its impact. For me, these features are welcome additions, especially for a game that hinges so heavily on player interaction. Unfortunately, this game's technical issues do not end with the locked frame rate, as this game also has some performance issues that march the experience. And while it's not game-breaking, it does detract from the immersion. I should mention, Supermassive Games has added a few new content pieces in the remake, most notably an extended prologue that delves deeper into the events leading up to the main story. And while it's an interesting addition for first-time players, those familiar with the original may find it a bit redundant. The pacing of Until Dawn has always been one of its strengths, and the extra exposition in the prologue doesn't add enough to justify its length. Similarly, the reworked post-credit scenes aim to provide additional narrative closure, but they feel more like footnotes than necessary expansions of the story. But if there's one thing this game has always done right, it's its replayability, as it has multiple branching storylines and different outcomes for each character. So the game begs to be played more than once, and each decision you make carries real weight, and does not just influence who lives and dies, but also how the story unfolds. And in this remake, the core feature remains intact, and with the added collectibles, there's even more of an incentive to dive back into another playthrough. However, if you've already experienced everything the original had to offer, this remake doesn't introduce any new content to warrant multiple replays, unless you're here for the upgraded visuals and minor tweaks. In my opinion, this Until Dawn remake is a beautiful crafted experience, marred by a few glaring issues. Visually, the game is stunning thanks to the Unreal Engine 5, and it remains one of the most atmospheric horror titles on the market. The voice acting, particularly from stars like Rami Malek and Hayden Panettiere, continue to elevate the game beyond mere gameplay into cinematic territory. But for all the aesthetic upgrades, it's hard to shake the feeling that this remake wasn't strictly necessary. For me, the technical issues are a real sticking point, especially for a game that has already solidified its place as a classic in 2015. And for me, this game is a 7.4 out of 10. If you've never played the original, then this is probably the best time to play Until Dawn. If you've played the game, did you like it? Would you recommend it? Let me know in the comments. As always, thank you for watching till the end. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a great day.